Sty North here. We're back out at the lean-to. This winter has been one to remember. Um, as you all are aware, I haven't been posting any videos for the last couple of weeks. It's February 19th, and the last video I put up, I think, was on February 2nd. Over the last couple of weeks, we had bitter cold weather. We had 20 below nights with 40 below wind chills and daytime highs that never got above zero. So I was busy back at the homestead just trying to keep everything warm and keep everything from freezing up in my sty shack. So, but now all of a sudden, just like that, yesterday the weather turned. Yesterday it got up to about 32 degrees. Today, right now, it's about 35 Fahrenheit, and it's supposed to hit about 40 degrees, 40 to 42 degrees today. So if it hits 42 degrees Fahrenheit, it's going to be just balmy out here. Maybe I'll get a suntan. Well, I don't think so. Too overcast for that. We had rain for about 8 hours yesterday, and they forecasted that rain to end by this evening. And so I thought, well, it's so nice out, it's so warm out, I'm going to head out to the lean-to. And so my little mascot Blondie, if she's there, of course, her favorite spot is on the bunk. Her and I decided, well, we're going to head out here today. I've got a previous obligation that I have to meet tomorrow, so I'm going to have to break camp early tomorrow, probably be out of here by 10 o'clock in the morning. But I get a good full day out here today and get to spend the night out here at least. So here I am, and I've only been here for about, half hour, 45 minutes. What I've done since I got out here was, you can see, I'm leaning on a pole here. What I did was I cut myself a ridge pole. I'd say it's about 10, 12 feet long. And my heat reflector, I use a tripod to hold my heat reflector in place. And I do that for a reason. The tops of the tripod, you can hang things from, dry things out. It's just convenient for using as a hanger. Plus, for something like this. I put this ridge pole on here, and the tripod's a little taller than my shelter. And I put this ridge on because if they're forecasting rain, I want to be able to sit out here more than back in the shelter all the time. So what I'll do is I'll throw a tarp over this ridge and string it out. And a lot of people, I've had a lot of people tell me in the past, well, you can't do that. You're going to end up with all your smoke in your shelter, and it's not going to work. Well, you'll see later this afternoon, this evening, after it's all put up, that's not quite true. With a slight rise to this end away from the shelter, with the heat reflector doesn't reflect much heat, actually. It gets warmed up from your fire, and what it does is it creates an updraft, and it pulls the smoke towards it rather than to your shelter. And what it'll do is it'll pull the smoke up in this direction, it'll come to the top of my tarp, and it'll exit out that end. If any smoke comes back this direction, I have this awning that's going to be about 1.5 feet below the tarp. That smoke will come in underneath this, between the two, and out the back. So no, you don't end up with smoke in your shelter. It doesn't happen. The other thing that people say is, well, you can't have a fire underneath that vinyl tarp. Then you're going to melt that tarp. You're going to burn it up. Well, I've done this dozens. I don't mean a dozen. I mean dozens of times. I never once have melted a tarp. For one thing, I don't build a fire that's got flames that are 3-4 feet tall. There's no sense in a fire that large. If the need arises, you need such a huge fire, a big bonfire of sorts. Well, take the tarp off. Well, don't be foolish and start a fire that large underneath a tarp. But a common bushcrafting fire pit, your flames are never going to get more than 18 inches, 2 feet tall. They're not going to produce enough heat to melt your tarp, to burn your tarp up. I've never had it happen, ever. And I've used these year-round in all different weather. So, and the other thing I did since I've been out here, I was busy for 45 minutes. I cut this pole. I had to hike off a ways to get it, but I got this nice ridge pole, and I put that up. And I went and I cut some wood for tonight. Now, I cut about half the wood I'm going to want for tonight, so I'm going to have to cut some more. But I'm not going to be doing that on the camera, of course. And as you can see how I'm dressed, that's something I'd like to stress to people. People come out in weather that's 30, 35 degrees, 40 degrees, and they're so overdressed. It's fine if you're sitting still, you're not doing anything, to bundle up, have 3-4 layers on to stay nice and toasty warm because you don't have a big fire going. But if you're going to be working around your camp and you're going to actually be exerting yourself, dress down so that you don't sweat. You do not want to be breaking a sweat out here in this kind of weather. People do that all the time. They'll work themselves to a point where they're just soaked on the inside. And the next thing you know, they're not working and they're chilled, terribly chilled. You can actually bring on hypothermia by overheating yourself. So make sure you dress comfortably, but not overdressed. Do not create a situation where you're sweating heavily underneath your clothes. Now, I have several layers available. As I start backing down later this afternoon, I'm sure I'll put another layer on just to stay nice and toasty. But don't overdress. That's one of the best pieces of advice I can give you today. So let me get off the camera. I'm going to keep working on this. I'm going to cut the rest of my wood, and I'm going to get the tarp out. We're going to string this tarp up, and I'm going to show you how that is. And then I'm going to do a couple other videos this afternoon. Hopefully I'm going to do one on some tinder, different forms of tinder. I think I'm going to do another sty story while I'm out here. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I'll see how many videos I can get done in a day. So if this video is running a little too long, there'll be a part 2 to it, and that's with the tarp on, the finished tarp on the top, and we'll show you how that turns out. So stick with me, folks, and thanks for coming back. And I want to thank those people that contacted me. I had one individual put an actual post up asking, where was I? Where are you, Sty? What's going on? We haven't heard from you for a couple of weeks. And I got 7 different messages asking the same question. Is everything okay? We haven't heard from you for a couple of weeks. And yes, folks, everything's fine. Sty's alive and kicking, and he's back out at the lean-to, and he's happy. Happy, 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 that's for sure. So you all stick with me. And if this is the going to be the end of this video, and we'll go on to part 2, you all have a nice day and catch part 2 when I finish the top of this. And by then I'll have a fire going, and we'll be getting a little comfortable in here for the rest of the day. So I'll see you soon. From Sty, Jim, and Rory out here at Camp Wilderness Thriving Fundamentals. Hey, we're looking for customers. We're looking for clients. If you're interested in a wonderful outdoor adventure, check us out. Look at our webpage, wildernessThriving.com. We'd love to see you out here. So this is Sty North, and I'll be looking for you in the next video.